All right, so now I'm going to ask sort of a question that is very contextual to the student body president candidate, so you guys don't have to answer this one. I want you to give me, say, the top 3 issues that you are most excited about advocating for the student body to the faculty and staff.
One of the biggest things I'm passionate about is our recycling program. I don't know, a lot of you probably don't know who I am, but I was the vice president last year. And our government, we started the recycling program. It was one of the first successful recycling programs this school has ever seen. But with that, we designed it in such a way that it was supposed to be temporary, and it's not supposed to be CUSG's responsibility, because what we wanted to do was, because students said recycling, 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 and we went to administration, recycling, but we couldn't get anywhere. So we created this program that was self-sustainable, and we put our own money into it. And we wanted to keep it up like that. We wanted to create a hype about recycling so that administration would see that it's a big, important deal and that they would take it over. But that hasn't happened yet. I was hoping that that would happen this year, but that hasn't happened yet. You have done a good job. You did a good job with making the program back into what it's supposed to be, but I still think that this is something that CUSG shouldn't be concerned about, because I think that our entire university should be concerned about it, and administration should be concerned about it, and so I feel like they should take it over. That's one of my biggest issues. Another one is just connecting with students. Just being back, talking to students who are upperclassmen, so who know who I am, and freshmen who don't know who I am, I can really tell that CUSG is not connected with students. Students don't feel like CUSG is a resource where they could go to if they needed help with questions or concerns, and I think that is a huge deal, because the executive council, they're all members who are getting paid, and they're working a job. I mean, it's a job, and so they should be constantly reaching out. And it's not to bash you guys, so I'm not bashing you guys. I'm just saying that it's something that needs to definitely change. And a third issue, let's see. With recycling, but on a more macro scale, is just making our university more sustainable overall. And so I want to really utilize that position. I mean, I don't know what it really did this year, because I wasn't around and I don't see any fruits of its labor, but really utilizing that position to look into ways of making our entire campus more sustainable. And that, I mean, that can go a whole bunch of different directions. In many small ways. I mean, that might be just a campaign to shower a little less, or use a little less paper, or which might not be a good idea, actually.
Just live in Quincer. Yeah.
But I mean, just little ways to making our campus more sustainable. It's not like we have to do something crazy like get solar panels on the roof, and I mean, we don't have to do anything crazy like that, but small little ways to make our campus more sustainable. And so.
First of all, I shower twice a day, and I live in Quincer, so.
You aren't very green then, I mean.
Yeah. Wow. That was mean. Well, anyway, I think the biggest justice issue for me is that there is a distance, there's a break between CUSG and the students, and not to harp on this, not to, I'm not coming down on you guys that are in office right now, but I really have a passion for people, and not only just for the people, but to connect the people to what their vision is for the school. And I think that it's vital in understanding what community means when communication is going on. If we don't have communication, how are we supposed to govern the students? I don't think we can. So that I think is probably my biggest push as your president. I want to know you guys. I want all of us to know you guys, and I want there to be a constant flow of disagreements and agreements and visions of what we want on this campus and what we want for this campus. And I won't keep going because I could keep going. I think my second one would be to I want to go along and look at what we can upgrade for to save energy, I guess. it goes along with sustainability and recycling program. I think that it's a great program, and I'm really glad that we have gotten something back up again. And I have recently just understood the importance of stewardship in that arena, in energy, and in finding better ways to take care of this earth. I was kind of just like, well, it doesn't really matter that much because I'm here to help bring people to the truth and show the truth to people through loving them, not taking care of the earth. But stewardship goes far beyond taking care of people and taking care of your money. And so I'm interested in kind of giving information out to others as I learn more about it myself, and then providing a great resource to the school and make that happen. The third, it kind of goes along with upgrading as well. There's certain things on campus that need to change. I've talked to several different students, and I think that, there's in different dorms, I guess, is majorly what I'm talking about. And so that we can go into further, but I won't now because I'm sure we'll get to it. But yeah, I'm done.
Perfect. As many of you know, I returned from a trip to Israel with 4 other people, kind of addressing the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And I think we've all come to realize that there's so much that's going on outside of Cornerstone, and oftentimes Christians become the reactors to the conflicts and the world issues going on. And so to be proactive in that would be great if Cornerstone could do that, take things, like I said earlier, and analyze them intellectually and then form action and opinion based off of that. So along with the justice lines, which I'm sure, I know you guys are both passionate about as well, I think that's kind of where Cornerstone is headed, and student government is a big source to foster that. Another area, maybe the biggest area, would be chapel. Do you have a question later on about chapel? Because then I'll save my cards.
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Chapel, I love, this is going to sound bad to some of you, but I'm all right with that we have mandatory chapels. Apparently, before my time back in the Stone Ages, they used to have to go to like every single chapel. So I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. But there's something unique that sets us apart from a Calvin or a Hope, where it's optional, that they never have a time where the whole community comes together and says, this is important to us. But with that said, chapel needs to be done well. And I talked to some people who said, the CCM, Christian music, doesn't connect to me. I don't connect to God through that. So you go to 50 chapels a school year, times that by 4 years, you go to 200 chapels that don't connect to you. And for me, I feel that as well. I'm not advocating that we get rid of the Christian music style, but I think it needs to be looked at, how can we make it more diverse. And I know Cornerstone, I think it's in our mission statement now, we want to promote diversity. And I think chapel is a huge way that we can do it. The Bible says neither Greek nor Jew, slave nor free, but that doesn't mean that the past isn't important. So people have different ways of worshiping, and we have to engage everyone. Now, that being said, if I'm not engaged in the chapel, I'm going to still worship, because it's not for me. It's for building the community and praising God. So I think I have some decent ideas, I think, of how I want to do that, which I don't want to take too much time, so I won't get into that now. And then the third way, I'll just make it short. As student government, I'm the VP of Organizations and Finances this year, and I think one thing that we kind of missed out on is setting the table right at the beginning of the year, where we got the feel of what students want. I know last year it was recycling and sustainability, and so we just kind of assumed that that's what it was this year, and we may have been wrong in doing that. And I still think sustainability is very important and crucial to what we are as a Christian university, but I would just like to, at the beginning of the year, set it open, feel out what the new class is like, and run with their ideas.
Can I just piggyback off of something Savion said?
I'll let you get to that in a moment because I'm going to ask you guys a specific question if you want to comment on that. But
Okay.
before we move on, actually, Savion, it looked like you might want to comment on the idea of whether or not SG was wrong on sustainability.
Oh, wait. Savion is my homie. We're good. So I don't think you were wrong. We've actually had this discussion a little bit that that was something important, but me on student government, I may have missed the opportunity to fully engage with what the culture is right now at Cornerstone.
Did you want to respond to that?
Well, I mean, I understand what Ben is saying, and I think, I mean, just to kind of beat up on myself and Ben Kaiser as well, what we kind of did was, because we felt that, or when we were in office, sustainability and recycling was such a big issue, we wanted to change our government in a way that it would be able to continue, and so that's what we did, but that probably wasn't necessarily what students wanted, so.
Okay, cool. So kind of a question specifically for the VP candidates. How would you go about energizing and motivating your student senate? And what are some legislative issues that you would love to tackle with them?
I think, first of all, as far as energizing them, it's partly just keeping the senators accountable, I think. It's just communication. When communication is clear, energy boosts up big time because people understand what's going on. If you are not clear about what's going on, the energy is going to flop big time. So communication is going to be my key thing this next year with the senators if I get elected, because with clear communication, we're going to be able to energize these senators big time.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Communication is key on that, and I think that that's kind of been an issue this year for whatever reason. But yeah, I think that'd be really a press is communication. And then also, one of the ideas that I have for connecting student senators with the students and making that more interactive is, and Savion, talking with him, he actually really gave me some of this idea, and I thought it was great, is to have them do questionnaires, do surveys, just walk around door to door multiple times a semester. I know we did that right at the beginning of the year. Tim and I are both student senators, or were. So we walked around, we introduced ourselves, but we didn't continue that consistently throughout the year as much as I think we should have as an entire student senate. So I think that if we did that more, not only would we have a better feel for what the students were believing and what their thoughts were, but also we would have more hard evidence of like, this is what the students want, and this is some information on why they want that. So if they want something really crazy, like they want 3 big screens, then obviously faculty's not going to be like, yeah, sure, that's great. But if you could like explain to them some like sophisticated reason and give them evidence, then they're going to be a lot more apt, at least, to consider it. So I think that would be a lot more viable solution for that.
Great. So I'm going to ask the same question to both of you, but I'm going to twist it slightly for you guys as the VP. So I want you guys to sort of comment, and I'm going to start with Ben and go this direction this time. I want you guys to comment on why it's important for CU to be connected to the greater Grand Rapids community. And then I want sort of the VPs, I want to ask you guys, what sort of policy or legislation would you promote or try to write up with your Senate to enhance Cornerstone's ability to connect with the Grand Rapids community?
Good. They say that 90% of what you learn for your career is on the job, in the field, and only 10% in class. So if we're just limited to this bubble of Cornerstone, we're not going to be prepared to engage the world and build a life that matters. And I think that's something that we hear often, but we don't really think about what it means. And I'm sorry for going into this. I should have phrased it differently. But I get paid for that. I'm on student government. It's all good. So now I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. But yeah, becoming engaged with the community. You know, that's what Jesus did. He didn't just stay with the Pharisees, the religious leaders and stuff. He really engaged. And none of this matters what we're doing at Cornerstone if it doesn't mean something. And so engaging, becoming part of the Grand Rapids community is what we need to be. And I would love it if Cornerstone could have a name out there that we tackle justice issues. We promote the wellness of the community. We make Grand Rapids a better place. And I think that's what we all on some level desire to have. I know it's hard to do, especially, you know, when you get into midterms and stuff and you're like, oh, I don't want to go do a terra firma project or something. But it's something that we definitely need to look at, and how can we approach it in a God-honoring way.
Two words that I think are overused but commonly misunderstood is culture and diversity. Grand Rapids is a little, this is going to be oxymoron, a little mega center of a lot of different culture and a lot of different diversity. I think the first thing I think of when I think of Grand Rapids culture is food. And I know that's sad, but I love food, and I know that going out there and experiencing more food would definitely help me be more cultured. But even deeper than that, there's an importance in understanding how other cultures work. If we don't understand how other cultures work in the bigger community, how are we supposed to understand how other cultures work in a smaller community like Cornerstone? It's very important to understand that. And so diversity doesn't involve necessarily food or understanding other people. It's the way, I mean, I guess it is understanding other people, but it's how others will interact with their own customs. Now, I know Cornerstone, I wouldn't say Cornerstone's very diverse, and I think that's just because we're in West Michigan, and it's a lot of money to go here for a lot of us, and it's just that's how it is, and I've come to terms with that. But I still don't think it's time to neglect what diversity and the different customs we have here, and especially in accepting the customs that come from the diverse city of Grand Rapids. So it's so important to get out there and understand by experiencing the other cultures and the diverse customs that come with them.
Born and raised in Grand Rapids. I know Grand Rapids very, very well. When I was in high school, I served in the Mayor's Youth Council. That was a council that was put together of, it was comprised of high school students who actively engaged the mayor and gave him counsel on certain decisions that he had to make. I was also part of the Grand Rapids Youth Commission, the first and only ever youth commission, and where we created a youth master plan. We worked with different neighborhood associations to figure out what needs were being met and what needs were needed. So when I was in CUSG as the vice president, one thing that I wanted to do was connect our university to Grand Rapids, because when I was working and doing all of that, I've never heard of Cornerstone. Never heard of Cornerstone through any of that. Cornerstone never came through, and I feel like us being a body of Christians, which is the body of Christ, should definitely be there, because there's such a need. There's a huge, huge need, and all of us can make a difference. All of us can make a difference, and I think it's kind of sad even that I mean, it's taken all this time. I mean, how long has Cornerstone been here? Up until now, that we're actually starting to make the steps to connect with Grand Rapids. And so that position is something I'm really, really looking forward to. And Ashley and I have already talked about it a little bit, because she's going out for it. And I still know people who are still in our neighborhood organizations, and I would love to get our school connected with those people. So, yeah.
Okay, well, Chip, I don't want you to get mad at me if I say this, but I think that terra firma is one of the biggest pump fakes at Cornerstone ever. You get connected with, and I mean, it is bad. Like, we get connected with an awesome ministry a couple of times. You know, I don't like that it's only once a week, because you really want to like do ministry with them, but you get connected with these people, you start to care about them, and then freshman year's over and you're done. Like, that's it. So you're like, oh man, I know I worked at Sabeo the first semester last year, and my terra firma was there all year, and it was awesome. Like, all the kids knew me by name, and it was like so awesome to go there. But this year, like, without initiative, it's so hard for us to like move. So once we sit down, we don't want to get up, and so like I feel like Terra Firma gets us walking and maybe even running, but then over that summer, then we sit back down, and it's hard for us to get up and be encouraged to go and to hook back up, because I could still volunteer at Sabaoth, but I've got excuses and I've got the job and yada yada yada. You don't actually really have that motivation, and so I really appreciate Ashley and Josiah setting up this new job. And I know, Chip, you had a lot to do with it too. I don't really know all the ideas of it, but this job is just set up to be outreach and community-oriented and get Cornerstone connected to the rest of the Grand Rapids area. And that's just awesome to me to see that, because that will be just such a step for us. Now you don't have, I don't have that excuse not to get connected with the community, because it'll be kind of like Terra Firma, where you have somebody you can go to and be like, okay, I want to hook up with an organization, and they will set that connection up with you. So that would be one legislation that I really push. I really expect a lot out of next year. So yeah, for me.
Can I comment?
I wanted to comment.
We'll let Tim go first, and then you can comment.
Thank you. I'm just kidding, man. Okay. A couple things. First, just to defend Terra Firma a little bit, I think Terra Firma is an awesome program. Yes, it could use some restructuring. It totally could. But that's the same with every program here. That's the same with every class here. Everything needs restructuring. And so I know that we're working on that. Christine Much is in charge of that right now. So I think as far as restructuring goes, we could use StrengthsFinder a little bit harder in the program. I think that's an extremely useful tool. Believe it or not, the top 5 most successful churches in the U.S. started within small groups of people. So I mean, like this, like for Crossroads, for instance, they would meet in smaller groups, like Terra Firma groups around Grand Rapids, and until they had 400 or 500 people, then they would move in as a church. By splitting up into those groups, like Terra Firma groups, you get to know people's strengths better, and their attitudes, and the things that they're enthusiastic about. And so I think it's important to split up into groups. As far as how long, I can't tell you that I know. I don't. I've only been at this university for a semester and a half. So I'm going to do the best I can to help restructure that and make it better and better. But StrengthsFinder, I think, is going to play into that big time. So that's the first thing. Second thing, as far as community-wise, I heard last night something really sad. We are known to a lot of people in Grand Rapids. Cornerstone is known as the sleeping giant a little bit. We are this giant group of Christians who are just sitting here in a bubble. And it's just really sad to hear that. You understand? And so what we need to do is, I would like to get connected with Calvin down the road. I'd like to get connected with Kuiper in more relational ways. Even our libraries are already merging a little bit with Kuiper. So I'd like to get connected with other schools. There's over 42,000 students in the Grand Rapids community. There's a lot we can do. Even the early Christian church struggled with this. They got too comfortable. They were running from Roman persecution, like 400 AD. And they started hiding in these valleys in the Hierapolis in Israel. And they would hide in these valleys and create their little bubbles. You can almost see that as like Cornerstone, these little bubbles of Christian communities where they were hiding so they could stay pure living. But that's not winning people over to Christ. That is thinking about yourself. And we cannot be like the early Christian church. We can learn from our history. And we can learn from this stupid name called the sleeping giant. We're going to get connected with the community. Whether that means restructuring Terra Firma, using StrengthsFinder more, getting connected with Kuiper and Calvin, it doesn't matter. We're going to get connected somehow. And I don't like to make promises, but I can tell you, that's going to be one of my big pushes, is getting connected with the community.
Savion, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that I know many, many students who, because of Terra Firma, wanted to step out into the Grand Rapids community and serve, and many of them have. And so I think that saying that Terra Firma is like a I mean, whatever you said, it's like
Pump
a
fake.
pump fake. That's what you said. I think that it's better than nothing. And what student wants to stay connected with that all 4 years when you have classes? I think it's an amazing program that gets students culture or a culture to the Grand Rapids community, let them know what's out there. And if students want to go beyond that and do something, then they can. Now, if you're going to make excuses, I mean, you're going to make excuses regardless. It doesn't matter if the program's here, if it's not here, if it's changed, if it's restructured. If you're going to make excuses, you're going to make excuses regardless. But if you want to make a change, if you want to serve, then you're going to do that, as many students have. Many students have. So that's all I want to say about that.